The arrival. The crystalline spires of Galactic University pierce the lavender sky of Zephyria, their iridescent surfaces reflecting the light of twin suns. Hovering vehicles zipped between buildings, carrying students and faculty of 1,000 different species. In the grand atrium of the Xenobiology department, Dean Zixnara, a towering insectoid with 4 arms and compound eyes, paced nervously. "This is unprecedented," Zixnara chittered to her assistant, a gelatinous being named Blob. "A human here at Galactic University. The council must have lost their minds." Blob burbled a response, its translucent form rippling with uncertainty. "Perhaps it's a test, Dean, to see if we can handle less advanced species." Zixnara's antennae twitched in annoyance. "Less advanced? Humans haven't even mastered faster-than-light travel. How did one even get here?" Before Blob could respond, a shimmering portal materialized in the center of the atrium. Students of various alien races gathered around, their curiosity piqued by the unusual occurrence. With a flash of light and a soft whoosh, a figure stepped through. Zara Chen, 18 years old and fresh out of high school, stumbled slightly as she materialized. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she clutched a battered duffel bag to her chest. As the portal closed behind her, she gazed around the atrium with wide-eyed wonder. "Holy crap," Zara whispered, taking in the alien architecture and diverse array of beings surrounding her. "I really made it." Dean Zixnara approached cautiously, her towering form casting a shadow over the human girl. "Welcome to Galactic University, Zara Chen of Earth. I am Dean Zixnara. We hope your stay will be educational." Zara craned her neck to look up at the insectoid Dean. "Thank you, Dean Zixnara. I'm honored to be here. I promise I'll work hard and do my best to represent humanity well." A murmur rippled through the gathered students. Some watched Zara with fascination, others with barely concealed disdain. A serpentine creature slithered closer, its forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. "It smells primitive," the creature hissed to its companion, a floating gas bag with multiple eye stalks. How did it even qualify for admission? Zara's cheeks flushed, her enhanced hearing implant picking up the comment. She squared her shoulders and addressed the crowd. "I know I might seem strange to all of you, but I'm here to learn and to share what I know about humanity. I hope we can all learn from each other." Dean Zixnara's compound eyes studied Zara intently. "Indeed. Blob, please show Zara to her quarters. Classes begin tomorrow, and I'm sure our new student needs time to acclimate." As Blob led Zara away, whispers and murmurs followed in their wake. The human girl tried to take in everything at once: the impossible architecture, the variety of alien life forms, the advanced technology that seemed to border on magic. In her quarters, a small but comfortable room that adapted to her physiology, Zara finally allowed herself a moment to breathe. She sat on the bed, which had morphed to accommodate her human form, and pulled out a worn photograph from her pocket. It showed Zara with her parents, all of them beaming with pride. "I made it, Mom and Dad," she whispered, tracing their faces with her finger. "I'll make you proud." A chime sounded, and a holographic interface sprang to life in front of her. Zara yelped in surprise, then laughed at her own reaction. The interface displayed her class schedule, campus map, and a bewildering array of options for food, entertainment, and social activities. As she explored the interface, a notification popped up. "Welcome mixer for new students, Grand Hall, 1900 hours." Zara checked the time conversion on her wrist device. The mixer would start in an hour. She took a deep breath, smoothed her hair, and decided to attend. If she was going to represent humanity, she needed to start making connections. The Grand Hall was a marvel of alien engineering, with a ceiling that seemed to open directly into space. Holographic stars and nebulae swirled overhead, while anti-gravity platforms allowed flying species to mingle at various levels. Zara entered hesitantly, immediately feeling out of place among the diverse alien crowd. A four-armed, blue-skinned humanoid approached her, curiosity evident in its large, almond-shaped eyes. "You must be the human," it said, its voice melodious and slightly accented. "I'm Azraxel, third-year student in quantum mechanics. Welcome to GU." Zara smiled, relieved at the friendly greeting. "Thanks, Azraxel. I'm Zara. This is all a bit overwhelming, to be honest." Azraxel's upper set of arms made a gesture that might have been a shrug. "I felt the same way my first year. Come, let me introduce you to some of my friends. They're dying to meet a real human." As Azraxel led her through the crowd, Zara found herself the center of attention. Some aliens kept their distance, while others bombarded her with questions about Earth and human culture. She did her best to answer, all while marveling at the diversity around her. "Is it true humans only have 2 arms?" asked a tentacled being that resembled an octopus wearing a spacesuit. "Do you really sleep for a third of your day?" inquired a glowing, ethereal creature that seemed to be made of pure energy. Zara answered as best she could, but soon found herself struggling with the aliens' rapid-fire questioning and the advanced concepts they casually discussed. Her enhanced neural implants, cutting edge on Earth, seemed woefully inadequate here. As the evening wore on, Zara's head spun with new information and alien names she struggled to pronounce. She excused herself from a group discussing the finer points of transdimensional physics and made her way to a quiet corner. "Feeling a bit lost?" The voice came from above. Zara looked up to see a winged, avian-like creature perched on a floating platform. It glided down to her level, landing gracefully. "I'm Professor Krelax, Xenobiology. You're in my class tomorrow." Zara straightened up, trying to look more composed. "Yes, Professor. I'm Zara Chen. I'm looking forward to your class." Krelax's head tilted to one side, reminding Zara of an owl. "Are you really? Because from where I'm standing, you look like you're about to bolt for the nearest escape pod." Zara laughed nervously. "Is it that obvious? I knew it would be challenging, but I didn't realize how far behind I'd be. Everyone here seems so advanced." The professor's eyes softened. "Miss Chen, every student here feels out of their depth at first. You're not just adapting to a new school, but to an entirely new level of galactic society. Give yourself time." "But what if I can't keep up?" Zara asked, voicing the fear that had been growing since she arrived. "What if admitting me was a mistake?" Krelax's wings ruffled slightly. "The Galactic Council doesn't make mistakes, Miss Chen. You're here because they saw potential in humanity, in you. Don't prove them wrong on your first day." With that, the professor spread his wings and lifted off, rejoining a party above. Zara watched him go, his words settling in her mind. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and decided to give the mixer another try. As she moved through the crowd, Zara overheard snippets of conversation that made her pause. Humans' primitive technology. Barely achieved spaceflight. Probably can't even grasp basic quantum entanglement. The words stung, but they also ignited something in Zara. A determination to prove them wrong, to show that humanity had something valuable to offer the galactic community. She approached a group discussing the challenges of interspecies communication. Drawing on her knowledge of Earth's history and her own experiences learning multiple languages, Zara joined the conversation. At first, the aliens seemed surprised by her input, but soon they were engaged in a lively discussion about the nuances of translation and the importance of cultural context. As the mixer wound down, Zara found herself surrounded by a small group of alien students who seemed genuinely interested in her perspectives. She had made a few tentative friendships and even exchanged contact information via a dizzying array of psychic and technological means with several of her new acquaintances. Back in her quarters, exhausted but exhilarated, Zara reviewed her class schedule for the next day. Xenobiology with Professor Krelax, followed by advanced propulsion theory and galactic history. It would be challenging, but she was determined to rise to the occasion. As she prepared for bed, a message notification chimed on her interface. It was from Dean Zixnara. Miss Chen, your presence at tonight's mixer has generated much discussion among the faculty and students. While some remain skeptical of your abilities, others have noted your quick thinking and unique perspectives. Remember, you are not just a student here, you are an ambassador for your entire species. The eyes of the galaxy are upon you. Do not disappoint us. Classes begin at 800 hours. Be punctual. Zara read the message twice, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She was no longer just Zara Chen, curious student from Earth. She was humanity's representative to the broader galactic community. City. As she drifted off to sleep, lulled by the unfamiliar hum of alien technology and the soft glow of Zephyria's moons, Zara made a promise to herself. She would work harder than she ever had before. She would learn, adapt, and grow. And somehow, someway, she would show the galaxy that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Little did Zara know that her greatest challenges and opportunities were yet to come. In the days ahead, she would face academic trials, cultural misunderstandings, and even galactic dangers that would test her resilience and ingenuity to their limits. But for now, she slept, dreaming of the incredible journey that awaited her at Galactic Universe. Unexpected talents. The first few weeks at Galactic University proved to be a whirlwind of challenges and discoveries for Zara Chen. Each day brought new marvels and frustrations in equal measure. She marveled at the advanced concepts discussed casually in her classes, but often found herself struggling to keep up with her alien peers. In xenobiology, Professor Krelak's lectures on multidimensional life forms left Zara's head spinning. During one particularly challenging class, the avian professor posed a question to the students. Who can explain the reproductive cycle of the quantum fluxions from the Andromeda galaxy? Krelax asked, his piercing gaze sweeping the lecture hall. The room fell silent. Even the most advanced students seemed stumped. Zara's mind raced, trying to piece together fragments of information from her readings. Suddenly, a connection sparked in her brain. Hesitantly, she raised her hand. Professor Krelax's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Miss Chen, this should be interesting. Please enlighten us. Zara took a deep breath. Well, sir, from what I understand, the quantum fluxions exist in multiple states simultaneously. Their reproduction isn't linear like most species we know. Instead, it's more like quantum entanglement. She paused, gathering her thoughts. They don't give birth in the traditional sense. Instead, they resonate across dimensions, creating echoes of themselves that gradually gain independence. It's not unlike how we humans understand ideas, spreading and evolving, except it's happening on a quantum level with actual beings. The lecture hall was dead silent. Professor Krelax stared at Zara, his head tilted in that owl-like manner. Then, to everyone's surprise, he let out a trilling sound that Zara realized was laughter. Excellent, Ms. Chen. A crude analogy, perhaps, but surprisingly accurate for someone from a non-quantum species. You've managed to grasp the essence of a concept that eludes many advanced races. 5 points to Earth. A murmur of astonishment rippled through the class. Zara felt a mixture of pride and embarrassment as her classmates regarded her with new interest. She had made a breakthrough, but she knew she still had a long way to go. As the weeks progressed, Zara found herself making small but significant strides in her classes. Her unique human perspective often led her to approach problems differently from her alien classmates, sometimes stumbling upon solutions that the others had overlooked. In advanced propulsion theory, Zara's knowledge of Earth's primitive rocket technology proved unexpectedly useful. When discussing theoretical models for faster-than-light travel, she drew parallels to early human experiments with jet propulsion. It's like breaking the sound barrier, Zara explained to her study group, a diverse collection of beings that had gradually accepted her presence. Early Earth pilots had to overcome enormous challenges, but once they did, it opened up new realms of possibility. Maybe the leap to FTL travel is similar. We just need to approach the problem from a new angle. As Ruxel, who had become one of Zora's closest friends, nodded thoughtfully. An interesting perspective. Perhaps there's something to learn from your species' trial and error approach. We've become so reliant on advanced simulations that we sometimes overlook simple physical solutions. However, not all of Zora's experiences were positive. In galactic history, she often found herself the subject of thinly veiled criticisms about humanity's violent past and primitive culture. The professor, a gelatinous being named Dr. Oolong, seemed to take particular pleasure in highlighting Earth's shortcomings. And here we see yet another example of human short-sightedness. Dr. Oolong burbled, displaying a hologram of Earth's polluted oceans. While more advanced species were developing clean energy and ecosystem management, humans continued to poison their only habitable planet. Ms. Chen, perhaps you'd like to explain your species' logic. Zora felt her cheeks burn as all eyes turned to her. She wanted to defend humanity, to point out their achievements and potential, but she also knew there was truth in the criticism. Unexpected talents. The first few weeks at Galactic University proved to be a whirlwind of challenges and discoveries for Zara Chen. Each day brought new marvels and frustrations in equal measure. She marveled at the advanced concepts discussed casually in her classes, but often found herself struggling to keep up with her alien peers. In xenobiology, Professor Krelak's lectures on multidimensional life forms left Zora's head spinning. During one particularly challenging class, the avian professor posed a question to the students. Who can explain the reproductive cycle of the quantum fluxions from the Andromeda galaxy? Krelax asked, his piercing gaze sweeping the lecture hall. The room fell silent. Even the most advanced students seemed stumped. Zora's mind raced, trying to piece together fragments of information from her readings. Suddenly, a connection sparked in her brain. Hesitantly, she raised her hand. Professor Krelak's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Ms. Chen, this should be interesting. Please enlighten us. Zora took a deep breath. Well, sir, from what I understand, the quantum fluxions exist in multiple states simultaneously. Their reproduction isn't linear like most species we know. Instead, it's more like quantum entanglement. She paused, gathering her thoughts. They don't give birth in the traditional sense. Instead, they resonate across dimensions, creating echoes of themselves that gradually gain independence. It's not unlike how we humans understand ideas spreading and evolving, except it's happening on a quantum level with actual beings. The lecture hall was dead silent. Professor Krelax stared at Zora, his head tilted in that owl-like manner. Then, to everyone's surprise, he let out a trilling sound that Zora realized was laughter. Excellent, Ms. Chen. A crude analogy, perhaps, but surprisingly accurate for someone from a non-quantum species. You've managed to grasp the essence of a concept that eludes many advanced races. 5 points to Earth. A murmur of astonishment rippled through the class. Zora felt a mixture of pride and embarrassment as her classmates regarded her with new interest. She had made a breakthrough, but she knew she still had a long way to go. As the weeks progressed, Zara found herself making small but significant strides in her classes. Her unique human perspective often led her to approach problems differently from her alien classmates, sometimes stumbling upon solutions that the others had overlooked. In advanced propulsion theory, Zora's knowledge of Earth's primitive rocket technology proved unexpectedly useful. When discussing theoretical models for faster-than-light travel, she drew parallels to early human experiments with jet propulsion. It's like breaking the sound barrier, Zora explained to her study group, a diverse collection of beings that had gradually accepted her presence. Early Earth pilots had to overcome enormous challenges, but once they did, it opened up new realms of possibility. Maybe the leap to FTL travel is similar. We just need to approach the problem from a new angle. As Ruxel, who had become one of Zora's closest friends, nodded thoughtfully. An interesting perspective. Perhaps there's something to learn from your species' trial and error approach. We've become so reliant on advanced simulations that we sometimes overlook simple physical solutions. However, not all of Zora's experiences were positive. In galactic history, she often found herself the subject of thinly veiled criticisms about humanity's violent past and primitive culture. The professor, a gelatinous being named Dr. Oolong, seemed to take particular pleasure in highlighting Earth's shortcomings. And here we see yet another example of human short-sightedness. Dr. Oolong burbled, displaying a hologram of Earth's polluted oceans. While more advanced species were developing clean energy and ecosystem management, humans continued to poison their only habitable planet. Ms. Chen, perhaps you'd like to explain your species' logic. Zara felt her cheeks burn as all eyes turned to her. She wanted to defend humanity, to point out their achievements and potential, but she also knew there was truth in the criticism. It was a delicate balance, being proud of her heritage while acknowledging its flaws. Has made many mistakes, but we're learning. In the last century alone, we've made significant strides in clean energy, conservation, and space exploration. We may be behind many species here, but we're eager to learn and improve. Dr. Oolong's amorphous form rippled in what might have been surprise or amusement. A diplomatic answer, Miss Chen. Let us hope your species' actions begin to match their words. As challenging as her classes were, Zara found that some of her greatest difficulties came from navigating the complex social landscape of Galactic University. The diversity of species meant a dizzying array of cultural norms, communication styles, and social taboos to learn. One evening, while studying in the library, a vast, multidimensional space that seemed to defy the laws of physics, Zara accidentally offended a group of crystalline beings from the Oort cloud. She had absent-mindedly hummed a tune, not realizing that certain sound frequencies were deeply offensive to their crystalline structures. The incident might have escalated into a diplomatic nightmare if not for the quick thinking of Blob, Dean Zixnara's assistant. The amorphous being quickly enveloped Zara, muffling the offensive sounds, while simultaneously emitting soothing harmonic vibrations to calm the agitated crystallines. "Thanks, Blob," Zara said sheepishly once the crisis had passed. "I guess I still have a lot to learn about interspecies etiquette." Blob rippled in what Zara had come to recognize as its version of a shrug. "Cultural misunderstandings are common here, Zara. The key is to learn from them. Your willingness to adapt is admirable." Zara smiled, touched by the compliment from the usually taciturn being. "I appreciate that, Blob. Say, would you be willing to teach me more about the different species here? I could use all the help I can get." Blob's form shimmered with what might have been excitement. "I would be honored, Zara. Perhaps we could arrange regular cultural exchange sessions. I admit I'm quite curious about human customs as well." And so Zara found herself with an unlikely tutor and friend. Their sessions became a highlight of her week, a chance to learn about the incredible diversity of galactic life while also sharing the unique aspects of human culture. As the first term progressed, Zara's confidence grew. She was far from the top of her class, but she was holding her own, and her unique perspectives were beginning to earn her a reputation as an out-of-the-box thinker. Then came the day of the great academic challenge, a university-wide competition that pitted the brightest minds against each other in a test of knowledge, creativity, and problem-solving skills. Zara hadn't planned to participate, feeling she was out of her league, but Azraxel insisted. "You bring a different way of thinking, Zara," the blue-skinned alien argued. "That could be our edge." Reluctantly, Zara agreed to join Azraxel's team, which included a hyper-intelligent shade from a dimension of pure thought and a collective consciousness composed of billions of microscopic organisms. The challenge took place in the Grand Hall, which had been transformed into a massive holographic arena. Teams from every department competed in rounds of increasingly difficult puzzles and simulations. Zara watched in awe as her teammates effortlessly solved complex equations and navigated multidimensional mazes. But as they reached the final round, they encountered a challenge that stumped even the most brilliant alien minds. It was a simulation of a dying star system, with multiple inhabited planets at risk. The goal was to find a way to save as many lives as possible while working within the constraints of physics and limited resources. The teams worked furiously, proposing elaborate solutions involving wormholes, time dilation, and even dimension hopping. But each solution was rejected by the simulation as either too costly in resources or too risky in execution. Zara stared at the holographic star system, her mind racing. Something about the scenario tickled at her memory, reminding her of an old Earth legend. Suddenly, it clicked. "Guys, I have an idea," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her teammates turned to her, curiosity evident in their varied expressions. "What if we're thinking too big?" Zara continued, her confidence growing. "Instead of trying to save entire planets, what if we focus on saving the people? We could use the resources to build a massive fleet of arks, like the story of Noah's Ark from Earth mythology. We evacuate as many people as possible from each planet, using the gravity of the dying star to slingshot the arks to safety." The hyper-intelligent shade pulsed with excitement. "Brilliant. We could use the electromagnetic fields of the planets to power the arks, reducing the need for fuel." The collective consciousness buzzed. "And we could utilize our miniaturization technology to fit more beings into each ark, maximizing the number of lives saved." Izraxil's 4 arms worked furiously over the holographic controls, inputting their plan. The simulation ran, and to everyone's amazement, it worked. While they couldn't save every life, their solution rescued a far greater percentage of the population than any other team had managed. The grand hall erupted in a cacophony of cheers, trills, and harmonic resonances as Zara's team was declared the winner. Dean Zixnara approached, her compound eyes gleaming with what might have been pride. "Exceptional work," the dean chittered. "Miss Chen, your unorthodox approach was the key to solving this challenge. Perhaps there is more to learn from humanity than we initially thought." As the celebration continued around her, Zara felt a surge of pride and belonging. She had proven her worth, not by trying to be like the aliens, but by embracing her human perspective. For the first time since arriving at Galactic University, she felt truly at home. Little did Zara know that her victory in the great academic challenge was just the beginning. The eyes of the galactic community were now upon her, and greater challenges and opportunities lay ahead. The human girl who had arrived as an outsider was about to become a key player in events that would shape the future of the entire galaxy. The cosmic crisis. In the wake of her team's victory at the great academic challenge, Zara found herself thrust into a new spotlight at Galactic University. Students from various species sought her out for study groups, fascinated by her unique problem-solving approach. Even some professors began to take notice, incorporating human perspective exercises into their curriculum. However, Zara's newfound recognition came with its own set of challenges. Some students, particularly those from traditionally dominant species, viewed her success with suspicion and resentment. Whispers of primitive luck and simplistic thinking followed her through the crystalline corridors of the university. One particularly tense moment occurred in the quantum cafeteria, where food materialized directly from energy patterns. Zara was still getting used to the concept of eating pure energy when a group of Voidborn students approached her table. The Voidborn, evolved to live in the space between galaxies, were known for their arrogance and disdain for matter-bound species. Their leader, a shimmering dark form named Exar, loomed over Zara. "We've been watching you, human." Exar's voice resonated directly in Zara's mind. "Your species is barely out of the cosmic cradle, yet here you are, playing at being our equal. Know your place." Zara felt a chill run down her spine, but she straightened her back and met Exar's gaze, or where she assumed its gaze would be. "We all have something to learn from each other," she said firmly. "Humanity may be young, but we have perspectives that even ancient races might find valuable. Isn't that the point of Galactic University? To share knowledge across species." Axar's form rippled menacingly, but before the situation could escalate, a familiar gelatinous form slid between them. Blob, in a rare display of assertiveness, formed a barrier around Zara. "This behavior is unacceptable," Blob burbled, its usually passive voice carrying an edge of authority. "Galactic University promotes unity and understanding between all sentient species. Return to your meal or face disciplinary action." The Voidborn retreated, but Exar's parting thought echoed in Zara's mind. This isn't over, human. The galaxy has no place for primitive species playing at greatness. As the tension dissipated, Zara turned to Blob with a grateful smile. "Thanks for the save. I didn't realize how much some species resent humanity's presence here." Blob's form rippled in what Zara had come to recognize as concern. "Change is difficult for many. Your success challenges long-held beliefs about species hierarchy. But remember, Zara, you have allies here." As if to underscore Blob's point, Azraxel and several other students from various species joined Zara's table, offering support and changing the subject to lighter topics. Zara felt a warmth in her chest, realizing that she had indeed found a community among the stars. Weeks passed, and life at Galactic University settled into a new rhythm for Zara. She threw herself into her studies with renewed vigor, determined to prove that humanity's potential was no fluke. Her unique insights continued to impress in classes, and she even began to tutor some of her alien classmates in human intuition, a concept that fascinated many of the more logic-bound species. It was during one of these tutoring sessions, deep in the multidimensional library, that the first tremors of galactic crisis began to ripple through the university. Zara was explaining the concept of lateral thinking to a group of hive mind students when suddenly, every information terminal in the library lit up with urgent news broadcasts. The Babelfish translator embedded behind Zara's ear struggled to keep up with the torrent of alien languages, but the gist was clear. Something was very, very wrong. Unprecedented stellar anomalies detected. Multiple systems reporting gravitational disturbances. Galactic Council convening emergency session. Students and faculty alike crowded around the terminals, a cacophony of worried voices filling the air. Zara felt a tap on her shoulder and turned to see Professor Krelax, his feathers ruffled with agitation. "Miss Chen, your presence is required in the dean's office immediately," the avian professor said, his usual calm demeanor noticeably shaken. "It seems your unique perspective may be needed." Confused but compliant, Zara followed Professor Krelax through the twisting corridors of the university. They arrived at Dean Zixnara's office to find it transformed into a bustling command center. Holograms displaying star charts and data streams filled the air, while representatives from various alien races argued in a dozen different languages. Dean Zixnara's compound eyes fixed on Zara as she entered. "Ah, Miss Chen, thank you for coming. We find ourselves in need of alternative viewpoints." The insectoid dean gestured to a central hologram displaying a cluster of stars. "We are facing an unprecedented crisis. A chain reaction of stellar collapses has begun in the Orion Arm, threatening thousands of inhabited worlds. Our best scientists are at a loss to explain it, let alone stop it." Zara's mind reeled at the scale of the disaster. But surely the Galactic Council has protocols for this kind of thing. Advanced evacuation methods, or ways to stabilize stars. A harsh laugh came from the corner of the room. Zara turned to see Exar, the Voidborn student who had confronted her earlier. "Your primitive mind cannot grasp the magnitude of this crisis, human. We are beyond mere evacuation. The fabric of space-time itself is unraveling in that region." Before Zara could respond, another voice cut in. "Perhaps that is precisely why we need Ms. Chen's input." The speaker was a time weaver, a species known for their ability to perceive temporal probabilities. Sometimes, the simplest perspective can illuminate what our complex models overlook. Dean Zixnara nodded. "Indeed, Miss Chen, we've called you here because your solution in the Great Academic Challenge demonstrated an ability to think differently. We need that now, more than ever." Zara felt the weight of expectation settle on her shoulders. She approached the hologram, studying the patterns of stellar collapse. Something about it nagged at her, a familiarity she couldn't quite place. "Can you show me the progression of the collapses over time?" she asked. The hologram shifted, displaying a time-lapse of the disaster's spread. Zara's eyes widened as she recognized the pattern. "It's like a forest fire," she breathed. "Excuse me." Dean Zixnara chittered, confusion evident in her tone. Zara turned to the assembled aliens, excitement building in her voice. "On Earth, we have these things called forest fires. They can spread rapidly, jumping from tree to tree. But firefighters sometimes use controlled burns to create firebreaks, areas where the fire can't spread." She pointed to the hologram. "What if we could do something similar here? Not with fire, obviously, but maybe we could create some kind of barrier to stop the chain reaction of stellar collapses." The room erupted in a flurry of discussions. The Time Weaver's eyes glazed over as they ran probability calculations. It could work, but the energy requirements would be astronomical. We'd need to create a void in space-time itself. XR surprisingly nodded. "The Voidborn could assist with that. We know the spaces between stars better than any." For hours, the assembled minds of Galactic University debated and refined Zara's idea. It was far from a complete solution, but it provided a framework, a starting point that their advanced sciences could build upon. As the plan began to take shape, Dean Zixnara turned to Zara, her compound eyes gleaming with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "Miss Chen, your insight may have given us a fighting chance, but implementing this plan will be dangerous. We need a team to go to the edge of the affected area and oversee the creation of this stellar firebreak, given that this was your idea." Zara felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. This was far beyond anything she had ever imagined when she applied to Galactic University. But she knew, deep in her heart, that she couldn't stay behind while others risked their lives based on her idea. "I'll go," Zara said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I want to help see this through." A ripple of surprise went through the room. Even Xar seemed taken aback by the human's willingness to put herself in harm's way. "Very well," Dean Zixnara said. "We'll assemble a team immediately. Miss Chen, you have 1 hour to prepare. This mission could very well determine the fate of a significant portion of our galaxy." As the room bustled with activity, Zara found a quiet corner to collect her thoughts. She took out the worn photograph of her family, tracing their faces with her finger. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," she whispered to the image. "But I have to try. For Earth, for all the worlds out there facing destruction, I have to try." Zara tucked the photo away and straightened her shoulders. In just a few short months, she had gone from a nervous exchange student to a key player in a mission to save countless alien worlds. The magnitude of it all threatened to overwhelm her, but she pushed the fear down. As she left the office to prepare for the mission, Zara caught sight of her reflection in one of the crystalline walls. The face that looked back at her was older somehow, more determined. She was no longer just Zara Chen, the human girl out of her depth. She was Zara Chen, representative of Earth, about to embark on a mission to save the galaxy. With a deep breath, she headed towards the university's spaceport. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dangers she might face, Zara knew one thing for certain: humanity was about to make its mark on the galactic stage, for better or for worse. And she would be at the forefront, ready to face whatever the cosmos had in store. Humanity's stand. The sleek, iridescent hull of the Galactic University research vessel, Quantum Leap, hummed with barely contained energy as it prepared for departure. Zara stood on the boarding ramp, taking one last look at the towering spires of the university that had become her home. The gravity of the mission ahead weighed heavily on her shoulders. Having second thoughts, human? The familiar mental resonance of XR, the Voidborn, echoed in Zara's mind. To her surprise, the dark, shimmering form seemed less antagonistic than usual. Zara shook her head. "No, just taking it all in. I never imagined I'd be part of something like this when I left Earth." Kevsar's form rippled in what might have been amusement. Few beings ever imagine they will face the unraveling of space-time. Yet here we are, off to create a firebreak in the cosmos. Your species continues to surprise me, Zara Chen. Before Zara could respond, as Roxwell bounded up the ramp, all four arms laden with equipment. Are you two going to stand there philosophizing all day? We have a galaxy to save. The trio made their way into the ship, joining the rest of the hastily assembled team. Professor Krelax was there, his avian features set in grim determination. A Timeweaver named Zeeks, no relation to the Dean, sat in quiet meditation, probabilistic equations swirling around their ethereal form. Rounding out the team was Epsilon, a hyper-advanced AI housed in a sleek humanoid body. As the ship lifted off, piercing the lavender skies of Zephyria, Zara felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. They were really doing this, heading off to face a cosmic crisis armed with little more than a human forest firefighting technique and the combined knowledge of the galaxy's brightest minds. The journey to the edge of the affected area was tense. Epsilon continuously updated the team on the spread of the stellar collapses, each report more dire than the last. Entire star systems were blinking out of existence, leaving voids in the fabric of space-time. We're approaching the nexus point, Epsilon announced, its synthesized voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. This is where we'll attempt to create the firebreak. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a scene that took Zara's breath away. A vast swath of space was wrong. Stars flickered and died, cosmic dust swirled in unnatural patterns, and at the center of it all, a yawning darkness that seemed to devour light itself. By all the void, Exar whispered, genuine fear coloring their mental voice. It's worse than we imagined. Professor Krelax's feathers were fully ruffled, but his voice remained steady. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Zara, this was your idea. What's our first move? Zara swallowed hard, pushing down her fear. She approached the holographic display, studying the patterns of destruction. We need to establish the boundaries of our firebreak first. XR, can the Voidborn create a stable emptiness around this region? XR's form pulsed with concentration. It's possible, but it will take immense energy. We'll need to siphon power from nearby stars without destabilizing them. I can assist with the calculations, Epsilon chimed in. We'll need to be precise to avoid exacerbating the problem. For hours, the team worked feverishly. Zara found herself translating her basic understanding of firefighting techniques into cosmic scales, with Roxel and Professor Krelax helping to bridge the gap between human intuition and advanced alien science. Just as they were making progress, alarms blared throughout the ship. Gravitational anomaly detected, Epsilon warned. Brace for impact. The quantum leak shuddered violently as space itself seemed to twist around them. Zara was thrown across the bridge, slamming into a bulkhead. Through blurred vision, she saw her teammates struggling to maintain their positions. Status report. Professor Krelax squawked, his wings spread for balance. Epsilon's voice came through, tinged with static. The anomaly has accelerated the collapse. Our original plan is no longer viable. We need a new approach, fast. Zara pulled herself up, ignoring the throbbing pain in her side. She stared at the view screen, watching as stars blinked out of existence one by one. An idea began to form, crazy, desperate, but just maybe crazy enough to work. What if we don't fight it? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. What? As Rux exclaimed, all four eyes wide with disbelief. Zara's voice grew stronger as she explained. In some forest fires, when they get too big to contain, firefighters will actually start smaller, controlled fires ahead of the main blaze. It uses up the fuel, so when the big fire reaches that point, it has nowhere to go. Kexar's form rippled with understanding. You're suggesting we accelerate the collapse in a controlled manner. Create our own void to stop the greater one. Precisely, Zara nodded. We use the Voidborn's abilities to create a controlled collapse, forming a barrier of, well, nothingness. The main anomaly will have nowhere to expand. The bridge erupted in a flurry of discussions and calculations. Zix, the Time Weaver's eyes glowed as they ran probability simulations. It's risky, they said, but the potential for success is higher than our previous plan. The energy requirements will be enormous, Epsilon cautioned. We'll need to siphon power from multiple star systems simultaneously. Professor Krelax nodded grimly. And if we miscalculate, we could end up accelerating the very destruction we're trying to prevent. Zara felt the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders. This was her idea, born from a simple Earth concept. If it failed, she pushed the thought aside. They had no choice but to try. Let's do it, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. XR coordinated with other Voidborn who had been called in to assist, their ethereal forms creating a network across the threatened region of space. Epsilon and Zix worked in tandem, the combined computational power orchestrating the delicate dance of energy siphoning and controlled collapse. Zara found herself at the heart of it all, her human intuition serving as a bridge between the abstract cosmic concepts and practical application. She guided the team in creating burn lines of collapsed space, strategically placed to contain the spreading anomaly. As they worked, the view screen showed their progress. Lines of darkness spread across the star field, forming a complex web of nothingness. But the main anomaly continued to grow, devouring stars and planets in its wake. It's not working fast enough, as Roxel said, worry evident in their voice. The anomaly will overtake us before we can complete the firebreak. Zara stared at the display, her mind racing. They needed more power, more speed. An idea struck her, dangerous, possibly suicidal, but potentially their only chance. The ship, she said suddenly. What if we use the quantum leap itself? Channel its power into the Voidborn network. Professor Krelax's feathers stood on end. That would leave us stranded, possibly torn apart by the gravitational forces. But it might give us the boost we need to complete the firebreak in time, Epsilon added, its circuits humming as it ran the calculations. Vexar's mental voice resonated with grim determination. I can channel the ship's energy through my connection to the Voidborn network, but the risk to all of us. Zara looked around at her team, beings from across the galaxy, many of whom had doubted humanity's place among the stars. Now they stood united, ready to risk everything on a human's desperate plan. We don't have a choice, Zara said, her voice steady. It's this or watch half the galaxy be torn apart. I say we take the risk. One by one, her teammates nodded their agreement. As Roxel placed a hand on Zara's shoulder, all four eyes shining with a mix of fear and admiration. Humanity truly does have a knack for facing impossible odds. Let's hope your luck holds, friend. With a series of rapid commands, Epsilon began rerouting the ship's power. The lights dimmed, and a low hum filled the air as energy coursed through the vessel. XR's form began to glow, tendrils of darkness spreading out to connect with the Voidborn network. Brace yourselves, Professor Krelax warned. This is going to be unpleasant. The ship shuddered violently as its energy was siphoned away. Zara felt a strange sensation, as if reality itself was stretching around her. Through the view screen, she watched as their carefully constructed web of darkness expanded rapidly, racing to encircle the encroaching anomaly. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, Zara wasn't sure if they had succeeded, or if they were about to be torn apart by cosmic forces beyond their comprehension. The ship groaned, systems failing one by one. The view screen flickered and died, leaving them in semi-darkness. Then suddenly, everything went still. Epsilon's voice, weak but functional, broke the silence. Status report. The firebreak is complete. The anomaly has been contained. A collective exhale of relief filled the bridge. Zara slumped against a console, the adrenaline draining from her system. They had done it. A plan born from Earth's forests had just saved countless alien worlds. As emergency power slowly brought systems back online, The view screen flickered to life. The sight that greeted them was breathtaking. A perfect circle of darkness surrounded the contained anomaly, stars twinkling peacefully beyond the barrier. "It's beautiful," as Roxel whispered, all four arms wrapped around themselves in a gesture of awe. Xar's mental voice, wary but tinged with respect, echoed in their minds. "The Voidborn have never attempted anything on this scale. Zara Chen, your species continues to defy expectations." Professor Krelax managed a weak chuckle. "I believe this calls for a significant revision of our galactic history curriculum. The day humanity saved the stars, who would have thought?" As the team began assessing the damage to their ship and sending out distress signals, Zara found a quiet moment to herself. She pulled out the worn photo of her family, a smile playing on her lips. "We did it, Mom and Dad," she whispered. "Humanity just made its mark on the galaxy." The photo seemed to shimmer in the low emergency lighting, and for a moment, Zara could almost imagine her parents' proud smiles. She had come to Galactic University to learn, to prove humanity's worth among the stars. Instead, she had taught the galaxy a lesson in human ingenuity and courage. As rescue ships began to appear on their long-range sensors, Zara knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity's journey among the stars was only just beginning, and she couldn't wait to see where it would lead next. A new galactic perspective. The return journey to Galactic University was a stark contrast to their urgent departure. The quantum leap, battered but intact, limped through space with the aid of rescue vessels. As they approached Zephyria, Zara stood at the view screen, watching the now familiar lavender world grow larger. She felt changed, as if the experience had transformed her on a fundamental level. "Penny, for your thoughts," Azroxel asked, joining her at the screen. The blue-skinned alien had picked up the human phrase during their many study sessions. Zara smiled. "Just thinking about how different everything looks now. When I first arrived at GU, I felt so small, and now you've helped save a significant portion of the galaxy." As Roxel finished, all four eyes twinkling with pride. "Not bad for a primitive species, eh?" As they entered Zephyria's atmosphere, Zara was startled to see the spaceport crowded with beings of all species. Word of their success had spread rapidly, and it seemed the entire university had turned out to welcome them home. The moment they stepped off the ship, they were engulfed in a cacophony of cheers, trills, and harmonic resonances. Dean Zixnera pushed through the crowd, her compound eyes gleaming with what Zara now recognized as pride. "Welcome back, heroes of the galaxy," the Dean chittered. "Your bravery and ingenuity have saved countless lives and worlds. The Galactic Council itself wishes to commend you." Zara felt overwhelmed by the attention. She looked at her teammates, Exar hovering silently, Professor Krelax preening his ruffled feathers, Six the Time Weaver emanating waves of probabilistic satisfaction, and Epsilon standing tall, its circuits humming with quiet pride. "We all did this together," Zara said, her voice carrying across the suddenly hushed crowd. "It wasn't just human ingenuity, it was the combined knowledge and skills of all our species that made this possible." A ripple of approval went through the gathered beings. Dean Zixnara nodded approvingly. "Well said, Miss Chen. And it is precisely this spirit of cooperation and mutual respect that we must foster moving forward." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of debriefings, awards ceremonies, and media interviews. Zara found herself thrust into the spotlight as the face of humanity's contribution to galactic safety. It was a role she neither expected nor felt entirely comfortable with, but she recognized its importance. During a particularly grueling series of interviews with representatives from various galactic news networks, Zara was surprised to find an unlikely ally in Exar. The Voidborn used their mental abilities to provide Zara with moments of calm amidst the chaos. "Your species thrives on attention," Exar commented during a brief respite. "Yet you seem uncomfortable with it." Zara sighed. "It's not about the attention, it's the responsibility. Every word I say is being scrutinized, potentially shaping the galaxy's view of humanity. It's a lot. Kassar's form rippled in what Zara had come to recognize as understanding. You bear the weight of your entire species on your shoulders, a familiar burden for those of us from unique backgrounds. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a delegation from the Galactic Council. Led by an imposing figure that seemed to be composed of pure energy, they requested a private audience with Zara and her team. In a secure chamber deep within the university, the council representative addressed them. Your actions have not only saved countless lives, but have also forced us to re-evaluate many of our long-held beliefs about species development and potential. The being's gaze seemed to focus particularly on Zara. Humanity, despite its relative youth in galactic terms, has demonstrated a unique ability to innovate and adapt. The Council believes it is time to accelerate Earth's integration into the wider galactic community. Zara felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. What exactly does that mean? She asked. It means, Ms. Chen, that we will be establishing more formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We'll be sharing more of our advanced technology and knowledge, and in return, we hope to learn from humanity's unique perspectives. The implications were staggering. Zara thought of her family back on Earth, of all the humans going about their daily lives, unaware that their world was about to change dramatically. There will, of course, be challenges, the Council representative continued. Not all galactic species are as open-minded as those you've encountered here at the university. There are those who fear rapid change, who may see humanity as a threat. Professor Krelax ruffled his feathers indignantly. Surely, after what we've accomplished, such fears are unfounded. The energy being rippled in what might have been amusement. Change is never easy, Professor, which is why we'll need ambassadors, beings who can bridge the gap between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. All eyes turned to Zara. She felt the weight of expectation settling on her shoulders once again. I'm not a diplomat, she stammered. I'm just a student who had a crazy idea that happened to work. As Rexel placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, sometimes, Zara, the best diplomats are those who never intended to be one. Your actions speak louder than any formal training. Over the next few months, Galactic University became a hub of increased human activity. More human students were admitted, and a special curriculum was developed to help them acclimate to galactic society. Zara found herself splitting her time between her studies and her new role as an unofficial human ambassador. One evening, as she was helping a group of newly arrived human students navigate the quantum cafeteria, Zara overheard a conversation that made her pause. I heard the human girl's idea came from something called forest fires, one alien student whispered to another. Imagine using planetary destruction as inspiration to save the galaxy. I've been researching Earth history, the other replied. Did you know they once split the atom as a weapon, but now use it for power? They're constantly turning destruction into creation. Fascinating. Zara smiled to herself, realizing how far perceptions had shifted. Humanity, once seen as primitive and potentially dangerous, was now being studied and admired for its resilience and adaptability. As the academic year drew to a close, Zara found herself once again in Dean Zixnara's office. The insectoid administrator regarded her with a complex expression that Zara had learned to read as a mix of pride and concern. Miss Chen, your time at Galactic University has been unprecedented, to say the least, the dean began. You came here to learn, and instead, you've ended up teaching us all a valuable lesson about the potential of young species. Zara nodded, unsure where this was going. The dean continued, the Galactic Council has requested that you join a special task force. They want you to help develop protocols for integrating other young species into the galactic community. Your experience as both student and unexpected savior makes you uniquely qualified. The offer was both thrilling and terrifying. Zara thought of her plans to return to Earth to share what she had learned with her own people, but she also recognized the importance of this new role. Can I think about it? Zara asked. The dean's antennae twitched in amusement. Of course, but know this, Zara Chen, whatever you decide, you've already changed the course of galactic history. Your legacy here is secure. As Zara left the office, she found Blob waiting outside. The amorphous being had become a close friend and confidant over the months. "I couldn't help but overhear," Blob burbled. "It's a big decision." Zara nodded, her mind whirling with possibilities. "I came here to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. I never imagined I'd end up shaping galactic policy." Blob rippled in what Zara now recognized as its version of a shrug. Sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones we never planned for. Whatever you decide, know that you have friends here who believe in you. As they walked through the crystalline corridors of the university, Zara reflected on her journey. She thought of the scared, overwhelmed girl who had first stepped through the portal into this alien world. She thought of the challenges she had faced, the friendships she had forged, and the difference she had made. Reaching into her pocket, Zara pulled out the worn photograph of her family. She traced their faces with her finger, a smile playing on her lips. "I did it, Mom and Dad," she whispered. "I showed them what humanity is capable of, and this is just the beginning." Looking up, Zara gazed out at the lavender skies of Zephyria, at the impossible architecture of Galactic University, at the diverse beings going about their daily lives. In that moment, she knew her decision was already made. Humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning, and Zara Chen would be at the forefront, helping to shape a new era of galactic cooperation and understanding. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and she couldn't wait to see what challenges and discoveries lay ahead. As she turned to head back to the dean's office, ready to accept the council's offer, Zara felt a sense of purpose and excitement that eclipsed even her first day at Galactic University. The future was unwritten, filled with endless possibilities, and she was ready to help humanity take its place as a true citizen of the galaxy. The stars had once seemed so distant, so unreachable. Now, they were home, and Zara Chen, once a simple Earth girl with dreams of the cosmos, had become a bridge between worlds, a symbol of hope and potential for humans and aliens alike. As she walked, head held high, Zara knew that this was not an ending, but a new beginning. The greatest adventure of her life, and perhaps of humanity itself, was just getting started.